This is Artifact 6, where I will showcase my digital citizenship project. It will cover Standard 3.1, ISTE Criterion 8, Standard 3.3, ISTE Criterion 10, and Standard 3.4, ISTE Criterion 11. Students engage in a series of mini lessons to learn various aspects of digital citizenship in the classroom. One of the lessons that they learned was a social responsibility lesson titled Our Ideas Matter. Students thought deeper into how they could express themselves, their ideas in a respectful way, even when they may cause a little bit of controversy. Students were able to address controversy in a responsible way and accept the opinions of others. Students worked to create a poster, slideshow, brochure, or infographic on a topic that others may find controversial. Their work had to be created digitally. Their goal was to be able to present their idea or opinion about their specific topic in a way that got their point across but was not offensive to others. Students used their rubric to ensure that they included all the necessary components of the activity, and students shared their completed activity once they were finished. Some of the topics that they used were something like homework should be banned or animals should not be kept in cages. They were topics that some people felt strongly about and some people did not feel as strongly about. And their goal was to just express why they felt strongly about those things without being offensive to others or not feeling like other people were wrong because they did not feel the same way that they felt. The second lesson was a lesson on empathy. Students participated in a lesson called What If That Were You? This lesson focused on helping students provide empathy when necessary in digital spaces. Students listened to a story titled A Little Spot of Empathy, and students wrote down their wonders and the things that they noticed while listening to the story. As a class, we participated in responding to scenarios where we could show empathy. One scenario was that you noticed that your classmate Jackson is upset because he failed this week's math test. How do you think he is feeling right now? What can you say to help Jackson feel better? After we answered this together, students worked in their journals to respond empathetically to a scenario of their choosing. In the conversation, students brought up things like, at this time, it would be good to tell Jackson how smart he is. It would be good to tell Jackson what he can do better on the next portion or when we do our next exam. And we said we would not say things like, I did better than you. We would not try to be a show off of if we had a better grade. This lesson helped further build relationships in our classroom while also fostering community in the classroom and helping students foster community and show love and respect for one another in online spaces. Next, I will cover mini lessons for Standard 3.3, ISTE Criterion 10, mentor students in safe, ethical, and legal use, including intellectual property, mentor students in the safe, ethical, and legal practice with digital tools and protection of intellectual rights and property. In this mini lesson, students participated in a lesson called Let's Keep It Respectful and Safe. The goal was for students to walk away knowing things that should and should not be posted online. Students listened to the story Faux Pas in the Unfortunate Upload. Students had a class discussion about the events that took place in the story, and students were asked to write an alternate ending to the story, correcting the characters' mistakes based on what they learned about digital ethics. In this story, students saw something get uploaded that was not supposed to be uploaded. It was inappropriate. It hurt other people's feelings, and it was just not a kind thing to do. So students were tasked to write an alternate ending that showcased the positive side of this. How could this have been avoided? And unfortunately, if this were to happen, how do we then solve this problem? In the next lesson, students participated in the lesson called What Can I Share Legally? In this lesson, students learned about file sharing and the risks of sharing files illegally. I really wanted students to understand how this can be dangerous and how this can really impact us, even at a young age, and how it can impact us in the future. In group, students took a deep look into an article that discussed the dangers of illegal sharing and peer-to-peer file sharing. The article gave students tips on how to share files safely. Students needed to create an infographic that presented the information that they read to their peers in a creative and also engaging way. Each infographic included a summary where they summarized the section of an article that they read. So I gave students a pretty academically challenging article where they read about legal online safety. They read about how important it is to share files legally, how important it is to make sure we're doing the right thing and giving credit where credit is due when we are file sharing. So since it was a pretty lengthy article, I broke it up amongst the groups, and students had to re-deliver the information so that because everyone did not see the entire article, because they only received a portion of it, students were tasked to create an infographic where everyone in the class could receive all of the information just in a way that was easier, or that they would be able to consume it. So students did a really great job of summarizing the entire article and being able to put all the pieces together and learn why we should share legally after completing this assignment. Standard 3.4, ISTE Criterion 11, model responsible use, including protection of digital identity and personal data. Model and promote management of personal data and digital identity, and protect student data privacy. Students worked to go through a digital identity lesson. The lesson was called, Does What I Post Online Reflect Who I Am as a Person? So when we started the lesson, I stopped there. I gave students that question, and I stopped there to allow them to think on that, to really reflect, to see if what they're posting online really reflects who they are as a person. So this lesson focused on teaching the importance of managing their actions online as it relates to their digital identity and reputation. Students completed a KWL chart in stages as they learned throughout the lesson. After learning, students participated in a peer review of one another's social media where they had to rate each other. At the end of the lesson, students were asked to self-reflect on their own social media representation in their journals once again. This lesson was really great, and I was able to provide an extension for this lesson as well. So I allowed students to take what they learned in class to go home and work through this with their parents, to really sit down with their parents and even review their parents' social media if their parents allowed them to, and then even ask their parents this, or family members, older siblings, if they felt that what they were posting online reflected who they were as a person or who they even wanted to be in the future, and kind of have that same type of conversation that we had in class at home. And I did have great reports that students came back to me saying that the conversations went over well. Even some great reports back from parents saying that they were glad that we were doing these types of things in class, as students really need this at this time, at this day and age. To work towards protecting student data and privacy, we completed a lesson called Trick That Hacker, how to create strong passwords. Students learned about the importance of strong passwords. Students were able to play a guessing game where they guessed the teacher's password for made-up sites. Students were taught to use a mix of various things such as capital letters, numbers, and symbols when they're creating their different passwords. Students practice what they learned by changing the passwords on various sites they use that could be easily guessed. So some people are used to using passwords that's like their name or maybe their mom's name. And I know as teachers, we get emails all the time telling us the types of passwords to use, telling us to use passphrases and ways to make our passwords stronger to prevent data breaches. So I wanted to instill those same things in my students. However, with most student softwares, they do not have to create their own passwords. So we decided to do this as a game, and then students were able to recreate some of their passwords for sites where they did create their own passwords. And students learned how to make longer and stronger passwords and even passphrases so that they could avoid getting hacked.